podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast. Well, this week we're sort of having a week off, but just thought we'd update you on what we are up to. Funny stage of the season, everything should be done and dusted by now, but obviously, thanks to the weather, that's not quite the case. Well, starting off with the news that Leicester have switched Friday's Championship and National Development League Grand Finals to Kings Lynn due to continuing weather and track issues at the Paul Chapman and Sons Arena. The Lions say they've taken a safe and sensible decision to ensure the matches are on, with an inspection of their own circuit on Wednesday morning confirming that the event would still be in considerable doubt at that venue. The club statement said, "We'd like to place on record our thanks to Keith Chapman and other track curators who've given up their time over the last week in a bid to make our circuit raceable for these grand finals. Whilst the main cause of the problems has been the extreme weather, we plan to make further investment over the winter to ensure we go into the 2023 season with an improved infrastructure. As a club, we're gutted that we cannot stage the finals on our own track, and purely in sporting terms, we realise that we're having to sacrifice home track advantage. But when the best in the business have advised us that it would be nigh on impossible, we have had to take the best option available to have the title decided on track. So it will be Kings Lynn, Friday evening. It's a 7 o'clock start time for the Championship Grand Final. Leicester will remain the home side and the Poole Pirates the away side, each team having a Kings Lynn Stars rider among their ranks, with Richie Worrell of the Leicester Lions regularly riding in the Premiership with Kings Lynn, and of course Richard Lawson for the Poole Pirates. So the stage is set for that, and then that will be followed by the National Development League final on the completion of the Championship fixture, and probably around about 8 or 8:30 or so by the time that gets underway. Now, if for whatever reason you're unable to make the journey to the Adrian Flux Arena, you will be able to watch both matches live on BSN, British Speedway Network, live streaming both of those as separate fixtures. So you need to pay for the both of them if you are wanting to watch both the Championship fixture and the National Development League fixture, but there is a discount if you get the Championship fixture to then stay on and watch the National Development League one. So find out more about that online, watch.britishspeedway.co.uk, or have a look on the app as well that BSN have got, and find out all the info. But if you want to purchase the fixtures, you're best doing that on the main website. One other bit of news to update you on is with regards to the Premiership pairs. Of course, last week we had what was round 5, and that was at the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester. Unfortunately, because of the weather, round 6 was unable to take place as scheduled on Monday, the 31st of October, and Ipswich have therefore been confirmed as the Premiership pairs winners after the postponement of that 6th and final round at Leicester. The Witches were 12 points clear of Bellevue following round 5 at the National Speedway Stadium last week, having won meetings at Vauxhall, Kings Lynn and Wolverhampton earlier this summer. Unfortunately, the weather intervened on several occasions, with the round initially planned for Sheffield, which was subsequently moved to Leicester because of stadium availability issues over at Olerton. Ipswich therefore take the title, having been represented throughout the series by Jason Doyle, who was joined by Danny King, Troy Batchelor and Eric Riss, with Danny and Hume and Anders Rowe both riding as rising stars. And the Ipswich promoter Chris Lewis said after starting with a 5th place in the first round to go 3 unbeaten and a 2nd place in the next 4, it would be hard for anybody to argue that we don't deserve to win the competition. We have used a bit of a squad. Obviously, Jason has been the mainstay of that and scored a lot of points, but he's been backed up by Danny, Troy, Eric and the reserves. It's been a good team effort and the lads fully deserve some silverware. So congratulations to the Ipswich Witches, Premiership pairs champions in 2022. The final result then, Ipswich ending on 46 points, Bellevue Aces on 34 points, Kings Lynn on 26, Sheffield also on 26, Wolves on 16, Peterborough on 12. And that's how the Premiership Pairs tournament ended in 2022. So we'll be back with another episode of No Breaks, No Fear next week. As usual, Wednesday morning or Tuesday night, one of the two, we'll be dropping the next episode, and that'll be a full look back at everything that's happened in the 2022 season. So join us for that next week on No Breaks, No Fear, our season review of 2022. So it will be a big one next week. In the meantime, don't forget that you can keep up to date with everything happening in British Speedway online, on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And of course, follow this podcast as well, because we've got some great previous episodes for you to enjoy. If you've not listened to some of the previous ones, there's lots to go at. And even though the fixtures perhaps that we were discussing at the time may well have passed over by now, there's still lots of great information and chat in there. Our most recent big episode that we did was talking with the Bellevue Aces, the Champions Special. If you've not listened to that yet, an hour or so with Brady Kurtz, Mark Lemon and Tom Brennan, reflecting on their season. We also spoke with Jason Crump a little while ago. That was prior to the Premiership Grand Final, but great to catch up with Jason Crump and get his thoughts. We've also got extended chats with Kyle Howarth, Danny King, Damien Bates, of course, the owner of Leicester and the Sheffield Tigers. We caught up with Gary Flint, Nigel Tolley of the Birmingham Brummies. Now, kind of went under the radar a little bit, that one, I think, but it has actually been listened to among the most of this season. Certainly one of the most popular, Nigel Tolley. Danny Ford, Simon Stead, Kelvin Tatum, plenty of other guests as well. So go back through the back catalogue in the meantime, and we'll be back with another new episode for you next week to round off the season. After we've had Bonfire Night and everything else, we'll review everything that's happened in 2022 on the final episode for 2022 of No Breaks, No Fear, and that will be next week. For some other podcast suggestions, why not have a listen to my other podcast, which is called Humans of Speedway. I haven't actually made any new episodes of that for a while, but there's plenty to go at if you've not discovered it before. Search for Humans of Speedway. It's a sit-down chat with various riders of various eras, so have a listen to that. But talking with people like Gary Havelock, David Howe, who else we spoke to? Stuart Robson recently as well, which was talking about his upcoming testimonial, which we recorded, I think, back in March, and that is still outstanding, so it's sort of still relevant, even though it's 6 months old, and many more as well. So listen to that online as well. And another podcast I'm involved with is the one with Kelvin Tatum called Tatum Talks. Now, we've only done one episode of it so far, but the plan is over the winter to do more. And the one episode we've done is a good one, though, with Dan Bewley. Talking about Dan Bewley and a bit of his background, but also winning the British Grand Prix. And at the time we spoke to him, he still had a few rounds of the Grand Prix left, but he'd already assured his place in the Grand Prix for 2023 then, I think, as well. So search for Tatum Talks. There is another Tatum Talks podcast we later discovered, which is from a rapper in America. Don't get the two confused. You'll be able to spot which one's Kelvin's, but just search for Tatum Talks Speedway. I think that'll probably bring it up on any podcast app. In the meantime, if you can get down to the Paul Chapman & Sons Arena on Friday night, you're in for a treat, because some great racing absolutely guaranteed there with a freshly laid track. It'll be the best prepared track I think you've seen this season, with the amount of work that's gone into it. So looking forward to that. And if you can't be there in person, you can join us on BSN, the British Speedway Network, showing both the Championship Grand Final and the National League second leg Grand Final on BSN on Friday night as well. Make a date. We'll see you there.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.